Hi, it's 1T, and in this video I'll be going over our syllabus. So this is our home page when you sign in, and you can see the syllabus link at the top of the page. There's also a syllabus link here. You'll notice there's a little bit more here. This video is going to be right there, and then this is a link to get to the syllabus, and this explains what a syllabus is if you're new to college, not really sure what's involved in a syllabus. It's basically a contract, and it explains what you should know about the course in order to be successful. And so you can look at that if you're interested. I'm going to go ahead and sign into this one. It'll give us a little bigger page because I've already minimized my screen to do the video. So this is our syllabus. Notice this is College Algebra 1314, Math 1314. Section C2, that's the section that you are in. And notice my name is spelled Scott with 1T. That's where my nickname comes from, 1T. And last name is Smith. My email is scottsmith@dallascollege.edu. Notice that Scott Smith is without any spaces. It's all lowercase. My office number is J127, and my phone number is 972-677-8940. And I thought I put my office hours in here, but let's see. I guess I didn't. I'll have to put those in here. So Monday through Thursday, I'll be in my office from 7 to 8 a.m. So that's my early shift. Tuesday, Thursday, I'll be in my office from 1 to 1:30 p.m. And then I will be doing some tutoring in the library, so I'll be adding those as well. Let's go ahead and continue on. Notice this tells us where we're going to be meeting, J106. So that's right near my office. If you need to withdraw for some reason this semester, this is the last day to withdraw, November 13th. We'll talk more about the certification date in just a little bit. Here's a course description and state-defined learning outcomes, the things you're supposed to learn in this course. So if you're interested in those, you can look through those. I mean, we're learning algebra, college algebra, but it gives a little more detail than that. Texas core objectives, you should see this on all of your syllabi. So things like critical thinking, communication skills, teamwork, these are the kinds of things that are important for students as they are at college. We want them to become stronger in these areas because when you go out in the real world, these are things that they value. So I really encourage you to look at those and think about that. You know, in this day and age, the best jobs are very competitive, and so you got to find ways to stand out. And one of the best ways to do that is get a good education, grow in the areas that you're weak in. And, you know, for example, if you have good computer skills, that's a real asset just about anywhere when you work. If you're a good leader, that's a great thing to be able to do, to be able to lead others. Anyway, let's move on. The required course materials are included with the Include-Ed program, which basically means when you sign up for classes, you're also getting a book. Well, you're getting MyLab Math, which includes a book. Our book is College Algebra with Intermediate Algebra. It's, well, you can see the other details there. So MyLab Math is an online textbook-based software where you're going to complete assignments. So it's important that you have access to a computer and the internet because you'll be doing a lot of work on your computer. It tells you how to get started. Basically, click on MyLab Math, and it's pretty easy from there. Most of the time, we're just going into the assignments link. If you watch my Lab Math video tour, it'll give you a lot more detail. something I encourage you to do. The TI 84 is what we'll be using in class, and it's what is required. We don't use it every day, although you do need to have a calculator every day. But if you're don't have the money to get one, or maybe you don't really want to get one because this is your last math course, the library does rent them out, but just for a day at a time. So on those days when we're going to need it, I can let you know. But otherwise, I would encourage you to buy one, especially if you're moving on to higher level math courses. So the graded work, you can see homework is 16%, quizzes are 8%, tests are 56%, and your final is 20%. So for each section that we cover, there'll be a homework assignment. The nice thing about MyLab Math is you're going to get immediate feedback each time you do a problem. If you get a wrong answer, you'll have access normally to a detailed solution to this kind of problem. On the other hand, I do want to say that I highly encourage you to get a notebook and write out the problems and your steps in your notebook. Make notes of any kind of problems you run into, any questions you want to ask. Writing things out is actually a really great way to learn, and for most people it's very valuable to do that. The other thing is when it's time to prepare for a test or prepare for just a quiz, you can go back and look at your notes and study them maybe a little bit, and then you'll be ready hopefully to take the quiz or the test. So the quizzes basically cover about 2 or 3 sections normally. And they'll give you a good idea of whether or not you're learning the material. If you're having to use notes or you're getting all the problems wrong, then obviously you're going to need to do some more work. But if you're going right through the quizzes with no problems, then that's a pretty good indication that you're going to be okay for the test. Notice you do get to take each quiz up to 2 times, and they are timed, usually 60 minutes. I would say also if you ever need or would like another attempt or two, I'm willing to do that. I just don't want you taking the quizzes too many times because then you'll end up running out of time to get the other things done. So there are 7 tests. Remember, this is 2 courses in one. It's as if you were taking 2 individual math courses. And so we do have 7 tests. Each test can only be taken once. And so I don't do retakes. And they will be taken or given in the Academic Testing Center, which is over in the library, basically. We call it the Learning Commons. Is that right? Anyway, so for the final, it's 25 question multiple choice test. I think it's 26 questions now. But if your homework average is 80%, then I will replace your lowest test score with what you get on the final. Notice the grade for MATH1314 is your grade after test 5. For that course, there are no D grades. However, if you do get a D in MATH1314 college algebra, then you would automatically get a C in that course. This is a challenging course for some students because they lack the algebraic foundation. They have a lot of holes. And so obviously I'm going to do everything I can to help you get through both courses the first time. But at a minimum, you want to make sure you're passing that DMAT0315 course. So if you have to repeat, you're only taking the college algebra part. So you'd have just one course next semester. But we're going to try to get you through the first time. Now you will have the opportunity to earn extra credit on the first 5 exams. So here's how many points you can earn based on the percentage you get on the, there's a practice test in my math lab. And so that's how you can earn extra points. Those have to be done before you take your test. Of course, the grades for college algebra are standard. A is a 90 to 100, B is 80 to 89, and so on. And here's your schedule. Notice you can see everything that's due each week. Remember, there's 2 courses that you're doing assignments for. I want to point out that things are a little rough the first couple of weeks because we're doing a quick review of the more basic things that you should be able to do. But if not, we're going to do a quick review. But I just want to say, for some students, the beginning of the course can be very challenging because they haven't done any math for quite a while. It's going to be really important that you get help right away if you're in that position. And I would just encourage you to hang in there because as we go further along in the course, you'll see that we'll cover less per week. I'd rather do more with the more basic assignments than when we get into the true college algebra courses, or I should say college algebra assignments. So you can see what's due each week, what our schedule looks like. You can see our first test is in week 3. I would encourage you, if you can, I'm going to post this tonight, so you should be able to start working on assignments this weekend before class starts if you're able to, and maybe get off to a head start and make things a little easier the first 2 weeks. But do what you got to do. Some of you may not be able to do that. I think that's about all I want to say about the calendar. The due dates that you see on here are also in MyLab Math. And the other thing is I will be giving you a nice copy of the schedule. If you just print out the syllabus, it doesn't print out all that nice. Let's see, if there's any kind of change in the course or any of my policies, I will make an announcement in that in class, and I'll also add it to the announcements in eCampus. Attendance and participation. So to be certified as attending this course, you must attend class at least once the first 2 weeks and begin working on assignments in MyLab Math. Failure to be certified may affect financial aid that you receive. Keep in mind this is the minimum requirement. To be on schedule in the course and thus off to a good start, you should be done. Now I've got to change this, that's why I highlighted it. It's actually the first 2 weeks. You'll see that it goes all the way through part 2 of sections 2.6. So week 1 is mostly chapter 1 assignments plus 2.1. And then week 2 is 2.2 through 2.6. And so those are the assignments that should be completed by that point. But at the very minimum, you've got to come to class at least once and start doing assignments, which is a pretty low bar. Notice I do recommend that you get an average of 80%. And remember that that's what's required for you to be able to replace your lowest test score. For late work, notice things are 25% off. That's on homework and quizzes. When it comes to tests, I don't do retakes. So it's really important that you're prepared the first time. The other thing I do want to mention here is you can do work late, but you can't do any work for a test after the test has been given. So the first test covers chapters 1 and 2. So after you take test 1, you can no longer go back and do assignments for chapter 1 and 2. So it's really important that you stay on top of the due dates. That's one of the real keys to success. And then the other big one is, and by doing that, making sure you have plenty of time to study. And if you don't really know how to study for a test, that's something we'll talk about. If you do miss a test, you should contact me immediately if you miss a deadline. And hopefully you have a good reason for doing that. You can't just say, I'm sorry, I just didn't prepare. So here's some links to some areas of interest for students, like if you want to reach Success Coach, tutoring. There's other resources, technical support, so you should look through those. So they're nice and convenient on our syllabus. Also, if you've never read through the institutional policies, you should do that. and talks about things like disabilities, dropping classes, um, discipline, Title IX. You should all at least look at those at least once and make sure you know what's there. And I think that's all I have to share with you on the syllabus video. All right, I hope that helps. If not, if you have any questions, just send me an email or give me a call, or you can talk to me in class.